They said the millionaire's daughter was cursed. Doctors failed. Medicines didn't work. Every night the girl screamed for help. But when the lights turned on, nothing was there, until the nanny looked behind her bed. If you were the nanny, would you dare to check? Stay with me, because what she found changed everything. Alexander Crawford was one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city, owner of hotels, tech companies, and acres of land. But his empire meant nothing compared to his daughter, 8-year-old Emily Crawford. Emily was quiet, intelligent, and delicate. Too delicate. She was always sick. Migraines, fatigue, vomiting, strange fevers that came at night and vanished by morning. Doctors scratched their heads. She's perfectly healthy, they insisted. But Emily kept getting worse. Alexander hired nurses, caretakers, even spiritual healers. None lasted more than a week. Emily's screams at night were unbearable. Until one day, a calm, confident woman walked into the mansion. Clara Hayes, a new nanny with a reputation for compassion and patience. "Give me 1 week," she said softly. "I'll figure out what's hurting her." The staff whispered, "She doesn't know what she's getting into." But Clara didn't scare easily. Emily's. Strange symptoms. Clara's first day seemed normal. Emily played quietly, smiled shyly, and even giggled once. A rare sight. But night changed everything. At exactly 2:13 a.m., Emily's screams cut through the mansion. Clara bolted into her room. Emily trembled, pointing toward the bed. "It's here again. Watching. Waiting." Clara kneeled beside her. "What's watching you, sweetheart?" Emily shook her head, terrified. "If I say it, it gets angry." Clara checked under the bed. Nothing. She checked the closet. Empty. She checked the bathroom. No one. Alexander arrived moments later, exhausted. "See, this happens every night, and she gets sicker every morning." But Clara noticed something odd. Emily's eyes kept shifting. Not under the bed, but behind it, as if something was hidden in the narrow gap between the headboard and the wall. That thought unsettled Clara, but night one wasn't the time to investigate. The mansion staff, avoid Emily's room. The next morning, Clara asked the house staff to help rearrange Emily's furniture. Everyone refused. "We don't go in that room alone," the cook whispered. "The girl isn't the only thing screaming at night." Clara frowned. "What do you mean?" But before she got an answer, the staff scattered like frightened mice. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Clara's investigation begins. Clara explored Emily's room during the day. Everything looked innocent. Pink curtains, plush toys, fairy lights. But the more she looked, the more she noticed. Emily's plants were dying. Her toys were shoved away from the bed. The headboard had faint scratch marks, not from fingernails. From something sharper. That night, Clara stayed in the room with Emily, pretending to sleep on a chair. At 2:13 a.m., a sound woke her. A slow, dragging scrape. Not from the floor. Not from the closet, but from behind the headboard. Emily whimpered in her sleep. Sweat poured from her forehead. Her breathing grew shallow, almost suffocating. Then, another sound. A whisper. Not human, not clear, but definitely real. Clara froze. Something alive was back there. But she couldn't risk waking Emily. Not yet. The terrifying pattern. For 3 nights, Clara documented everything. Emily's sickness peaked between 2 to 3 a.m. The whispering grew louder each night. The scratching became more aggressive. Emily's oxygen levels dropped dangerously low. The air behind the bed felt colder than the rest of the room. It wasn't a ghost. Clara didn't believe in that. But it was something with intelligence. Something that hated being watched. Clara decided that on night 4, she would confront it. At 2:13 exactly, Clara pressed her ear against the headboard. Her heart pounded. Silence. Then, psst, shh. A hiss inches from her ear. Emily shot upright, choking. Clara grabbed the headboard and yanked it away from the wall with all her strength. And what she saw was not human. 2 glowing, cat-like eyes stared back at her through a narrow gap in the wall. A small, hunched figure, skin gray and cracked like dry earth, clung to the inner frame. Clara gasped. The creature hissed at the sudden exposure, retracting deeper into the dark space. Emily collapsed unconscious. Clara screamed for help. Alexander rushed in, horrified. What is that? Clara didn't know the answer, but one thing was clear. This was what was making Emily sick. And it had been hiding behind her bed for weeks. Everyone thought the creature was the danger, but the real threat was the person who put it there. Emily was rushed to the hospital wing inside the mansion. Her condition stabilized, but she remained unconscious. Alexander paced back and forth like a lion trapped in a cage. What was that? An animal? A demon? What? Clara didn't answer, because something troubled her even more. The creature wasn't acting like a wild beast. It behaved like it had a purpose, like it was assigned a task. Someone wanted it there, and someone wanted Emily sick. The hidden passage. Clara returned to Emily's room with a heavy flashlight, gloves, and her courage stretched thin. Behind the headboard, she found the narrow gap again. She pressed against the wall. A small wooden panel clicked. A secret passage opened. A freezing, foul smell seeped out. She crawled inside. Cobwebs brushed her hair. The walls were carved with strange symbols, childlike but sinister. Broken toys, scraps of cloth, feathers, old food, all scattered like a nest. And, at the far end, 2 glowing eyes again. The creature stood up. Small, no more than 3 feet tall, but its presence was unnerving. Its skin cracked, its teeth sharp, but its expression confused, scared, not hostile. Clara whispered softly, "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature backed away, trembling. That's when Clara noticed. Its ankle was chained. Someone imprisoned it. Someone forced it to live behind Emily's room. Someone used it. Clara's fear turned into anger. Clara confronted the oldest housekeeper, Mrs. Doyle, a woman who had been with the family for 20 years. "Tell me what's behind that wall." The woman froze, trembled, and finally collapsed into a chair. "It wasn't supposed to hurt her," she whispered. "What wasn't?" Mrs. Doyle wiped her tears. "A gremlin, an old creature from my village. People used to trap them to bring good luck. I thought it would protect the mansion. I thought it would serve the family." Clara's blood boiled. "You trapped a living creature and hid it behind a child's bed?" Mrs. Doyle broke down. "I didn't know it would feed off her energy. I didn't know it needed to drain someone to stay alive. I didn't know." Clara stepped back in horror. Emily wasn't sick from illness. She was being drained every night to keep the creature alive. Alexander stormed into the room the moment Clara explained everything. "You did this to my child." Mrs. Doyle begged for mercy, but Alexander fired her instantly and ordered security to escort her off the property. But firing her wasn't enough. Emily was still unconscious, and the creature was still trapped. Clara returned to the passage with bolt cutters and a lantern. The creature whimpered when she approached. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm setting you free." As she cut the chains, the creature flinched but didn't attack. It simply stared at her, with a look almost like gratitude. Clara led it outside, far away from the mansion, into the forest at dawn. "Go," she urged. The creature hesitated, then touched her hand lightly and vanished into the trees. The moment it disappeared, the air felt lighter. A strange pressure lifted from the mansion. Clara rushed back to Emily's bedside, and then, for the first time in weeks, Emily opened her eyes. "Is it gone?" she whispered. Clara smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. It's gone." Emily's color returned. Her breathing steadied. She sat up, weak but alive. Alexander hugged her, tears falling freely. "You saved my daughter," he told Clara. But Clara shook her head. She saved herself. "I just turned on the light." In the weeks that followed, Emily became healthy, playful, and full of energy. The secret passage was sealed permanently. Alexander improved security and fired every staff member involved. Clara became more than a nanny. She became part of the family. And deep in the forest, sometimes at night, Clara thought she saw 2 glowing eyes watching her from afar. Not with danger, but with gratitude, because even monsters hide behind beds when humans chain them there. And sometimes, saving one child means freeing another creature from suffering. The true healing began the moment fear was replaced with understanding, and darkness was replaced with compassion.